Hyung, aren't you getting bored? I mean, we are waiting for Namjoon Hyung for 15 minutes. Let's play Gawi Bawi Bo. The youngest yawned before saying. And what would the loser have to do? I don't want to be another Disney princess, but you are right, Cook. Supporting his face with his palm, Taehyung tried to lift his face and spoke. When the leader is busy, the younger must obey their young. Let's plan something we have never done, and the loser have to do that. The eldest encouraged the magnate to plan something. How about having a good conversation with a non-army and solving his or her problem? Yoongi suggested. What if the person says, Yoongi, marry me? Will you marry that person? The mochi interrupted. I will try to win Pavo, and it's not Hanguk, it's a foreign country. Though Korean culture is no joke here, I don't think we can find a non-army so easily. Yoongi just had finished his words when Namjoon, the leader, joined them. The officials said that the problem will be solved within 24 hours. It means we have 24 hours. Boys, let's plan something. Let's enjoy this 24 hours. The leader almost jumped in joy. We are planning to meet a person who doesn't know us as BTS, and the loser of rock paper scissors would have to do something that would help the person. Hobi informed Namjoon while munching the sugar-coated strawberry. Yoongi chanted the rock paper scissors, and all of the seven reacted immediately. After a few rounds, Namjoon was finally declared as the loser. Yoongi, marry me. The eldest teased him out of blue, and Yoongi frowned. I'm not the loser, Hyungnim. That's right, but how would we identify the non-army? The eldest asked out of curiosity. It's almost evening and there is a university. We can go and definitely find the one. Yoongi casually shrugged his shoulders. But Hyung, it's a university means students are probably be used to with pop songs. Spotify thing, probably most of them are familiar to K-pop. Taehyung asked. You are right, but not 100% of the students are interested in K-pop. There must be some exceptions, and Namjoon have to find the one of the exceptions. Sounds simple, but I think it's going to be harder. Hobby smiled. Now let's go to the university campus. We must enjoy the sunset. Everyone nodded and crossed the road to enter the university campus. The garden area was quite clean. There was small and big trees in the campus. Students were chatting and laughing in groups here and there. Needless to say, the eldest was feeling nostalgic. Do you think Namjoon Hyung would find someone? The matinee asked. Though they had always taken the rock paper scissors game too seriously, but they never had interacted with strangers the way they just decided. We can't force him, but he need to try his best. Hobby chuckled. Yoongi interrupted. Can you see the white fabric thing tucked in the students' backpacks? I think it's going to be easy for Namjoon to find a non-army. Young, what's about that girl? Hearing Namjoon's voice, the rest of the six men gathered and looked at the direction he was looking. All the best. Go and approach her. She looks upset too. Yoongi encouraged the leader. Upset? No, she looks exhausted. Teku gossiped, but Yoongi stopped them. Remember, first criteria is she must not be an army. But what if she hides that? Namjoon asked in a nervous tone. Just show her your dimpled smile. No army would fail to recognize you. Just try to read her eyes. If she is an army, then step back. The elder shrugged his shoulders. Namjoon nodded and inhaled deeply before going towards the bench where the girl was sitting. Rest of the members fixed their eyes on their clumsy, innocent leader. They wanted to see the clumsy man to interact with the girl who was looking exhausted. Somewhere, some of them secretly crossed their fingers. She should not be an army. Hi, what are you doing? Namjoon consciously showed his dimpled smile, but as the girl turned and looked at his face, he didn't get the courage to show his teeth anymore. Gentlemen, you have a great smile, but I don't know. Who are you? She coldly spoke. Namjoon tried his best to put on an artificial smile. Your eyes are too pretty. What is your name? Are you a student here? Sir, she took the specs and put on. Pardon? So, you are really not an army? Namjoon asked directly. I wanted to join army. I wanted to achieve the uniform, the stars, but I had weak vision. So my dream to be an army or navy or air force, that would count as one of those countless dreams I don't dare to dream. Though she was smiling, yet her voice was stern. And soon she turned her face as someone almost screamed, Van? Sir, you have great teeth structure. It was nice to meet you, but I need to go. She stood up and rushed towards one of the buildings. And the next moment, Namjoon was left all alone there. He sighed and sadly chuckled as he found her small wallet on the bench. He immediately took that and walked on the same direction, and the 29-year boy was too stunned. A uniformed officer was discussing something with her, and a group of men in casual followed her. Finding no other way, the innocent leader came back to the place where rest of the members were waiting for him. Young, what happened? Taehyung asked Namjoon, and he sighed. I don't know who is she. Definitely not an army and too cold. And the cold lady gifted you her wallet? The mochi asked him, and the eldest joined him. I think the cold lady is clumsy and oblivious like our Namjoon. Namjoon smiled sadly. I went to return her the wallet, but I think she had to rush to complete her work. She was with an uniformed official, and I simply didn't dare to approach them. Young, I think she returned to collect her wallet. Go! Taehyung informed him about the cold lady. Namjoon rushed as a wallet usually contains a lot of documents and money. But when he came near to her and stood beside her, he noticed she wasn't looking for anything. He could sense there was a smartphone inside the wallet. Miss, you left your wallet here. Namjoon approached her with his signature dimpled smile. Oh, thanks. The lady coldly smiled. You are looking stressed. Can I help you? I mean, if I could help you to get rid of the problems, the hardness you are currently facing? Namjoon softened his voice. Really? The cold lady sadly chuckled. Anyway, thanks for saying that. Saying what? Namjoon raised his eyebrows. The cold lady inhaled deeply. For saying that you wanna help me to get rid of my problems? No one has ever showed me sympathy. Thanks for that. Namjoon thought the next moment she might break into tears, but surprisingly, she wasn't even choked. Namjoon cleared his throat. So when, right? And the lady blinked. How did you know that? I googled that. The 148 IQ Hooper chuckled and went coldly smiled. I'm not that much famous, and I don't even want to. Oh, that uniformed man yelled the word and you responded? Namjoon could guess the conversation was getting awkward. What do you want? You have returned my wallet. Tell me, what do you want in return? Wen just sighed. I want to fulfill one wish that would change your life. Namjoon wanted to promise her. Then On a dragon ride, take me to the land of Phoenix. She bent her knees and looked at him. Girl, that was fantastic yet fantasy. Ask for something else. Namjoon shook his head. Then don't ask me anything. Nothing. My name is Van and I'm an adult. Take me with you and save me from this world. The strong looking girl finally choked emotionally and Namjoon was kind of surprised. Namjoon thought the girl just asked him for a vacation and he could afford it, but the only thing he was thinking of was the uniformed official. He might be her husband or her boyfriend. When, what about the uniformed official? Namjoon directly asked. Oh, he is my brother. We have common mom and dad, and he is married. He just needed my help, that's all. We do live independently for years now, and I'm not married but committed to my work, and you won't ask me anything about my work. Wen didn't even realize when she had started feeling so comfortable with him. Okay, Namjoon nodded. Then bring your documents and meet me at the airport. I will try my best to fulfill your wish. Namjoon playfully winked, but the dumb girl was looking somewhere else, so he didn't notice how cute the 181 centimeter tall man was looking. And as it was almost time to return to the hotel, the responsible leader politely smiled. I need to do arrangements. I should go. Bye. The Bangtan boys returned to the hotel. Namjoon informed the boys that the girl was exhausted, so she wanted to go for a break and he wanted to take her with him to his country. Everyone believed, but they didn't. He entered into Namjoon's room and sat on the couch. Yeah, Namjoon nodded. They? What did she do? They asked. Namjoon simply answered, I don't know. Do I need to know? Namjoon chuckled. How can you just take her with us? They questioned. I just told her to meet me at the airport. Namjoon smiled. When? They asked, and Namjoon said regretfully, I forgot to inform her the time. Then they looked at the leader and he smiled. If there is such thing as destiny, we must meet. The next day, evening time, all the Bangtan boys and their crew members left for the airport on time. Though everyone knew Namjoon had invited someone, but they didn't count her. Actually, they couldn't. In the airport, the magnate suddenly pointed out someone in the crowd. Isn't that the girl we saw yesterday? All the crew members and the six head looked at their direction and they found the same girl, carrying light luggage and constantly trying to call someone. Namjoon quickly waved his hand, but unfortunately she didn't notice. As it was almost getting late for their boarding pass checked, they had to go from there. Wen was also traveling to Seoul. She and one of her schoolmates had decided to travel a beautiful country. But even after arranging everything, her schoolmate couldn't make it to the airport. First, she hesitated, but after some time, she decided to give it a chance. She decided to go solo. Wen and the Bangtan group was in the same plane. But the Bangtan boys had booked the first class tickets while Wen had the economy class ticket. And she was completely unaware about Namjoon's existence in the same aircraft. Namjoon's eyes were fixed at the entrance. His instincts were constantly provoking him, and finally he decided to ask a flight attendant about Van. He sighed. At least he knew her name. Though it was only a rock paper scissors game and nobody actually was asking him about that, which was causing him all the disturbance in his mind. After almost half an hour, the flight attendant informed Namjoon that there was a passenger named Van in the economy class and also asked if he wanted to upgrade her ticket to the business class or to the first class. He was also reported that she was traveling alone and looking nervous as her friend didn't come. Namjoon sighed in relief. May I go and check whether she is the person I was searching for? I mean, I want to sure before I choose for the upgradation. And the flight attendant nodded. Namjoon was helped by the flight attendant to identify the one named passenger, and surprisingly, she was that particular girl. Without hesitating, Namjoon requested the attendant for an upgradation. Ma'am, your ticket is upgraded to the business class, and maybe it can be upgraded to the first class. The flight attendant informed her, and she obviously frowned. Why? Ma'am, this is a random selection process. You are going to be provided a little bit more privacy and, of course, complimentary beverages and drinks, the flight attendant informed. Van was finally settled into her upgraded position, and after a few minutes, the flight finally took off. Van looked around. The sitting position she was provided was for couple, but she wasn't aware of that. She just casually took her phone and put on the buds before playing her favorite music that she had saved previously. Are you sad? She felt a soft tap on her shoulder and someone's existence. Her heart almost skipped a beat and she was just frozen at a spot. Slowly, she raised her face and it was Namjoon, the man she had met yesterday. Oh, you. Hi. She greeted with a little forced smile and gradually her body started relaxing. Did you get an upgradation too? Are you going to South Korea too? Yeah, Namjoon nodded. Wan thought that she was just too fortunate to have someone not so unknown beside her, but at the same time, she didn't want to irritate him. Namjoon wanted and waited for Wan to start a conversation, but Wan actually testing his patience. Excuse me? He tapped on his shoulder and she took off one of her earbuds and turned her face to him. How did you know that I'm Korean and how did you arrange everything within 24 hours? Namjoon asked what he wanted to ask. She brightly smiled. So, you are a Korean? And Namjoon almost protested. Isn't it obvious? No, I mean, to me, it wasn't that much obvious, and my best friend actually planned the whole thing, but for some reason, she couldn't make it, and I thought, why should I waste all the money my leave has been sanctioned? She shrugged her shoulder. So, aren't you angry? Namjoon raised his eyebrows and she chuckled. I wanted to go on a solo tour. Also, we have promised each other that we would spend our annual holiday together. It was her dream destination. I'm not angry, I'm just feeling guilty and sad for her, yet it's also a tick on my bucket list, and I'm exhausted. I think I'm going to fall asleep. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm disturbing you. Namjoon apologized, flashing his dimpled smile, and when denied, no, not at all. In fact, your presence making me relaxed. I can think about taking a nap because of you. When smiled, and after some time, she closed her eyes. Wow, she sleeps so quietly. Namjoon silently chuckled and accidentally their fingers contacted as she moved a little while sleeping and her fingers were cold. Namjoon roughly checked her palms, her forehead, her cheeks. How can you sleep so peacefully when you are feeling so cold? He gently took the blanket and covered her cold body. It was a good 7.5 hour flight. a long international flight, feeling something comfortable and warm when grabbed tightly, and didn't feel any kind of resistance from the other side. Yes, one just rolled to Namjoon's side and hugged him. Hug was something for what Namjoon never had to ask, but it was the very first time he was hugging and protecting a girl. For the privacy he was provided, he didn't feel awkward at all. For the first time in life, his nostrils experienced a new kind of fragrance. It was soft and sweet. The smell of her clothes, the smell of her freshly washed hair. He couldn't deny the fact that a part of him started craving to taste her lips. It looked juicy. He touched the tip of her nose that had already turned a little pinkish because of the strong air conditioning system of the aircraft. And Van opened her eyes. She didn't move. She just looked straight in his eyes. After making a solid eye contact, she closed her eyes. Gradually, her breathing pattern got normal again, and Namjoon sighed in relief. When she opened her eyes after a long 6 hours sleep, she found herself alone in her seat, but with two blankets. Maybe he gave me his blanket, she murmured and looked at the empty seat beside her. Again she closed her eyes. After some time, she sensed some movement and turned her face. Namjoon was busy doing some of his leader work. Are you feeling cold? He asked her. She stretched her arms, yawned. Feeling the cold, she almost curled into a ball. She definitely could feel the absence of the warmth and closed her eyes. And after some time, she opened her eyes and sat up with a throb. He's working and it's his seat. She mumbled, don't think, Van, you are a good girl and you never did anything like sleepwalking. Stop thinking. The plane landed. Namjoon was still working. Van actually didn't dare to say a single word, and as she hurried to get out of the plane, Namjoon finally closed his notebook and smiled. I'm with my group. See you at the baggage reclaim area. He flashed his dimpled smile when still didn't dare to utter a single word and just nodded. In the baggage reclaim area, when noticed a huge group of people collecting their luggage like her, and some of them were looking at her. More than looking, she felt like the boys were judging her. She casually stepped back and waited for her luggage, and she felt like having a mini heart attack as she couldn't find her luggage. She checked the local temperature and it was freezing cold. Though the local people just had put on thin woolen clothes, but she was freezing. Need help? Hearing Namjoon's deep voice, her heart almost skipped a beat. You scared me. Here is your luggage, Namjoon asked, and she shook her head. I can't find it. Let me help you. You are in my country, so it's kind of my duty. He shrugged his shoulders. Namjoon himself went to the officials with Van and got to know that Van's luggage was loaded in another plane and it would take 5 to 6 days. Namjoon sighed and nodded. Van, what was in your luggage, like any documents? Van, who didn't understand a single word of the officials, just raised her eyebrows. What did he say? By mistake, your luggage was loaded in another plane. Namjoon hesitated. It's freezing cold and all the hotel booking related papers are in my luggage. Van almost cried. What should I do now? I have a plan and I think you need to trust me. Namjoon chuckled. But first, take my jacket and put on. The jacket was definitely big and oversized, but it wasn't providing that much warmth she needed. Come on, you cold blooded animal. You have no option, and don't forget, you were the one who was lying on him. You better not think too much. She mentally cursed herself while obediently following his shadow. She almost collided with him as he stopped at a point. Look, Van, this is the struggle point. You have to go there, pointing to the exit point. Like a normal person, and without following me, I will send a car and you will be taken care of. Am I going to be kidnapped? What would happen if I follow you? Indeed, she was afraid of getting into an unknown car by herself. You might be smashed. There are many people waiting, though the security system is very strict. But if they protect you, you will be in limelight and your life would definitely going to be miserable. Believe me and just trust me, Namjoon assured her. Wan raised her face and looked at him. She reminded herself that she was on her solo tour. Namjoon tapped on her shoulder and said, "Bye," before joining his group, and then noticed the crowd. It was huge. She stayed there for some time, until the area became less crowded and she did what Namjoon told her to do. And soon a car stopped in front of her and a decent looking Korean guy picked from the car. She had nowhere to go, so crossing her fingers, she dared and sat on the car. The car stopped in front of a house, and the decent looking Korean guy politely told her to get out of the car. He also told her to wait for Namjoon in the living area and the passcode to enter the house. Wen wanted to sigh in relief, but the actual trap might be inside the house. The temperature of outside was around 10 degrees centigrade and one was freezing in that temperature. And to save her life from the cold, she had left with no option without entering into the house. Pressing the passcode, she entered into the house and sat on the couch. There was no one in the house. She was hungry but had no food. Taking her water bottle from the backpack, she drank some water. The jet lag, the hunger, and the silence. There were enough to make her eyelids heavy. Lying on the couch, she closed her eyes and soon fell asleep.